Catherine, I'll direct this next question to you. To support the research and insights that you provide to the industry, the NRF has a Center for Retail and Consumer Insights. So it's a great value add for retailers as well as all NRF members. Can you talk a little bit more about the center, the content, how members can access it, and where people can go to learn more?
Yeah, absolutely. Before I do that, I just wanted to build a little bit on kind of some examples of some of the value we've seen. We turn to some of the weather data around, holiday, around things like that to see what's popping for consumers in the moment. When we released this report this past summer with Planalytics around, how retailers can think about how different sectors and their categories might be impacted by a major weather event. It talked about, which sectors might expect increases in demand leading up to an event. So groceries, water stocking up, during an event, and then post with repairs, lost sales, maybe from eating out that might not be made up. And what I found really interesting is after the hurricanes this fall, we actually did an economic analysis using credit and debit card data, specifically on the Florida region, and it showed exactly the same pattern that had been demonstrated by the weather-driven demand data. So, but that's all backwards looking versus having tools where you can think in advance of what's being impacted, what's driving consumers, and no one wants these hurricanes, but how do you guide your business and your consumer responsibly through that? So that helped us kind of come to the realization we needed to continue feeding out these weather insights to our retailers, and also start focusing a little bit more on those more immediate impacts of weather on product and on different regions. So as Evan mentioned, we have a Center for Retail and Consumer Insights. It has a lot of resources out there, both for the general public as well as for our members specifically. We actually do have a booth. It doesn't have a location, but it's on the third floor of the North Hall next to the podcast studio. And we have some screens up if you want to kind of dig a little bit more into some of this. We have data on retail transactions, but the latest thing we've launched is the Retail WeatherIQ with Planalytics, and this is a weekly look refreshed every Monday at 10 a.m., looking at some of the products that were most impacted both favorably and unfavorably by weather. And so this is available to anyone. You can check it out, get a sense of what might be moving the needle, what might be most impacted by weather. If you want to dive a little deeper and you're an NRF member or you're thinking about being an NRF member, you can log in and actually see this data broken out by some of the top 10 metro areas, so seeing how different parts of the country might be impacted, as well as some snapshots of how weather across the country is comparing to last year, both in terms of temperature and precipitation. This just scratches the surface of weather-driven insights that some of our partners offer, but it's tools that we wanted to put in the hands of members to remind them that weather is playing a role for their customer and helps guide some of their decisions.